Linda Clark Burley Family Tree. To my children. The red highlights marks me and your father's branch. Our family history goes far back to our African roots. Be proud of where you come from. You was born out of a rich black strand, a people strong in mind and determination, a people who let nothing stop them from giving their best. We are here today because of their blood, sweat, tears, and many prayer, our ancestors. Keep this manuscript close to your heart, pass these stories down to your children, and pick up the record from where I left off. You owe it to our ancestors, who watches and guides us. The symbol I chose for our family is an African symbol, which means determination, strength, adaptability, prosperity, and abundance. In all your ways, acknowledge God, and He will direct your path.
African roots versus native roots, why our family held on to Africa. In my mother's generation, our family strongly connected to the African diaspora. This makes sense because African identity was one of the only identities that Black families were allowed to claim without constant rejection or gatekeeping. There's nothing wrong with African pride because we all come from Africa and our African roots are real. However, in America, especially in Texas and the South, many Black families with Native ancestry or freedmen connections were often denied access to Native recognition, denied tribal acceptance, and reclassified in government records. This made Native ancestry so difficult to prove, difficult to claim, and sometimes discouraged. Because of this, many families leaned more heavily into African identity, not because Native roots were not present, but because African roots were the only identity consistently acknowledged. Based on skin tone, you better not claim any other ancestry back then. Over time, movements connected to African pride also became the strongest emotional home for many Black families. In some cases, the Back to African narrative was empowering, but it also could be used politically to encourage Black people to disconnect from American land rights, treaty rights, and historical claims inside the United States. Whether intentional or not, it often caused Native and freedmen land-based history to be ignored or overlooked. Today, the goal is to honor Africa as the origin while also researching the full truth of our family's American history, including freedmen history, land ownership, displacement, and our Native ancestry. Our story is not only African, it is African and native to American, and is the history of this country. Here is our family history timeline, organized. This document organizes our family history timeline into two branches, my mother's mother's side, Terrell, Woods, and Martin, and my mother's father's side, Brown and Wilson. This timeline is being built to preserve family history for future generations and to support continued research. This is Branch A, my mother's mother's side, Terrell, Woods, and Martin. Around 1870, an ancestor named Ermeline was born. Her birth year is estimated to be around 1870, and her birthplace is believed to be Georgia. Ermeline represents an early foundation of the family line during the post-slavery Reconstruction era. On March 20th, 1877, Billy Terrell was born in Mississippi. Billy later migrated to Texas. Billy Terrell died on December 15, 1958, and is buried in Salem Cemetery in Grimes County, Texas. Billy's birth occurred approximately 12 years after emancipation, suggesting the family's history connects directly to Reconstruction-era migration. On June 18, 1887, Henrietta Woods Simpson was born in Allen Farm, Texas. Allen Farm is associated with southern Brazos County history and early settlement communities. Henrietta Woods Simpson died on February 5, 1993. Henrietta is a key anchor ancestor in the Woods family line. On October 25th, Joe Woods was born. Joe Woods later married Irene Woods. Irene Martin was born Irene Martin and later married Joe Woods. Family oral history states Irene Martin was full-blood Native American. This portion of the family tree is one of the most important research targets because it may connect our family line to Native ancestry and historic reclassification issues. Family history indicates migration from Allen Farm into Wellborn, Texas, in Brazos County. This migration is significant because Wellborn and surrounding areas may contain census records, land records, church records, and cemetery records that can help confirm missing generations and strengthen documentation. Here is Branch B, my mother's father's side, Brown and Wilson. On March 4, 1936, Callie Wilson was born. Callie is spelled C-A-L-L-I-E. Callie Wilson was born in Williamson County, Texas. Callie Wilson is my maternal grandfather, meaning he is my mother's father. Family documentation and oral history indicate that Callie Wilson's father was Charlie Brown. Charlie Brown is a key ancestor in the Brown family line and represents the deeper root of this family branch. Family tree organization summary: mother's mother side, grandmother branch, Terrell, Woods, and Martin line. Key ancestors include Billy Terrell, Henrietta Woods Simpson, Joe Woods, and Irene Woods. Mother's father side, grandfather branch, Brown and Wilson line. Key ancestors include Charlie Brown and Callie Wilson, born March 4, 1936 in Williamson County, Texas. The main open research target on the maternal grandmother side is Irene Martin's parents, her birthplace, and how she was classified in early public records. The main open research target on the maternal grandfather side is Charlie Brown's parents and confirming documentation connecting Charlie Brown to Callie Wilson. Let's recap. This timeline documents the family line connected to James and Linda K. Wilson Clark Burley. The information is written in chronological order based on dates and relationships shown in the family records. Phase 1. Linda K. Wilson Clark. Linda K. Wilson Clark was born December 11, 1958. She was born at her grandmother's home located in Springdale, Austin, Texas. Phase 2. Linda's parents. Linda's birth father was Callie Wilson. Callie Wilson was born March 4, 1936. His birthplace was Williamson County, Texas. Linda's birth mother was Emma Jewel Williams. Emma Jewel Williams was born March 11, 1942. Her birthplace was Austin, Texas. Phase 3, Marriage Connection. James Dale Burley Sr. was born November 7, 1957, in San Antonio, Texas. Family notes state that James Dale Burley Sr. and Linda K. Wilson Clark were married on April 17, 1974. This date is also described as being her grandmother's birthday. This timeline is the foundation for a family history video series that will be expanded as new records and documentation are discovered on my mother's side. Now let's map out the timeline on my father's side. Okay, now my father's family timeline. Phase 4, Odell Bean family line. Family records state that James's father was Odell Bean Jr. Odell Bean Jr.'s father was Odell Bean. Odell Bean Sr.'s mother was Nellie. Odell Bean Sr.'s father was Bernie Bean. Bernie Bean was born December 4, 1885, and died May 17, 1974. Odell Bean Sr.'s mother was listed as Allie. The notes also mention that Bernie Bean may have been married more than once, and that there is a possible connection to Ida Drisdale. The family notes state that Bernie Bean's mother may have been named Belle. Belle was described as a mulatto woman from Mississippi. The notes indicate she may have been married to a John Bean. Belle resided in Weimar, Colorado County, Texas, and may have been born around 1867. Phase 6, Family Cemetery Locations. Family notes state that most of the Bean family members are buried in Paradise Cemetery located in LaGrange, Texas. Phase 7, Bernice Chandler Scruggs family line. Family records state that James's mother was Bernice Chandler Scruggs. Bernice Chandler Scruggs was born January 6, 1932. Her birthplace was LaGrange, Texas, in Fayette County. She died May 17, 1974, and was buried at Fort Sam Houston Cemetery in San Antonio, Texas. Family notes state that Bernice and Odell had 2 children together, the father of the family and Uncle Charles. It also states that after Bernice separated from Odell, she married Mr. Burley. Phase 8, Education History. Family notes state that Bernice attended Carl Downs School and Clear Creek School for the Colored in Weimar, Texas. Phase 9, Chandler and Carruthers family line. Bernice Chandler Scruggs' father was Marcus Chandler. His birth date is listed as July 9th, but the year is not shown in this record. Bernice Chandler Scruggs' mother was Letty Carruthers. Letty Carruthers was born June 23, 1909, and died March 30, 1972. She is associated with Schulenburg, Fayette County, Texas. Letty Carruthers' mother was Patience Cook. Letty Carruthers' father was Harrison Carruthers, with a possible birth year of 1888. This timeline is a foundational record for documenting the Burley family history and will be expanded as additional records and public documentation are discovered. Tracing our Native American roots. Native ancestry, mother side versus father side. In our family,
This chapter is sponsored by Burley Services, a local government contractor providing professional janitorial services and commercial floor care for organizations that need their facilities clean, safe, and presentation ready. Burley Services supports ongoing maintenance and deep clean solutions, including floor cleaning, stripping, and waxing, serving San Antonio and surrounding areas with a strong focus on reliable service and operational standards, especially for commercial and institutional spaces. Visit burleyservices.com today and use POD10 to get 10% off your next service. Tell them DJB sent you. Let's get back to our episode.
In our family history, there are two major Native ancestry traditions passed down through oral history and family documentation. On my father's side of the family, the Native ancestry is believed to come from Blackfoot. On my mother's side of the family, there are strong hints and indicators that the Native ancestry may connect to Cherokee. The father's side of the family is connected to Fayette County, LaGrange, Schulenburg, and Weimar, Texas. Family names connected to this branch include Bean, Chandler, Scruggs, Carruthers, and possible Mississippi roots through an ancestor named Bell, who was described in family notes as mulatto and originally from Mississippi. This is believed to be the area where the Blackfoot ancestry is connected. The mother's side of the family is connected to Grimes County, Brazos County, Allen Farm, and Wellborn, Texas. Family names connected to this branch include Terrell, Woods, and Martin. The most important person in this branch is Irene Martin, who married into the Woods family line. Family history states Irene Martin was full-blood Native American. This is believed to be where the Cherokee connection is most likely to come from. Our Cherokee research strategy for Irene Martin, Woods family line. To research Cherokee ancestry through the maternal family line, the main target ancestor is Irene Martin, who married Joe Woods. Family history suggests Irene Martin was Native American, and there are strong hints of Cherokee connection. Because Native ancestry was often reclassified as Black or mulatto in historical records, Cherokee research must be approached through multiple record systems rather than searching only by surname. Step 1. Build the identity profile. Before searching Cherokee roles, gather Irene Martin's approximate birth year, birthplace, counties of residence, spouse name, Joe Woods, and names of her children. If possible, identify her parents' names. Cherokee and freedmen roles are organized by household and age, so accurate identity details are necessary to avoid missing records. Step 2. Search U.S. Census records. Search Irene Martin across the 1900, 1910, 1920, and 1930 census records. The key information to identify is how she was racially classified, Indian, mulatto, Black, or white, and the listed birthplaces of her parents. If the census lists Indian Territory or Oklahoma as a birthplace for Irene or her parents, this is a strong Cherokee indicator. Step 3. Search Dawes rolls using all categories. The Dawes rolls must be searched using all Cherokee categories, including Cherokee by blood, Cherokee freedmen, Cherokee intermarried whites, Cherokee minors, and rejected or stricken applicants.
Many Cherokee-connected Black families were recorded under Cherokee freedmen or were rejected from enrollment, even if they had Cherokee ancestry. Step 4. Search the Guion-Miller Roll. The Guion-Miller Roll is a critical Cherokee claim database from the early 1900s. It includes sworn applications for Cherokee citizenship and often contains family testimony, ancestor names, and migration history. If Irene Martin's family applied, this roll may provide strong proof of Cherokee connection. Step 5. Search Freedmen's Bureau records. Freedmen's Bureau records from 1865 to 1872 should be searched for Irene's parents or grandparents. These records include labor contracts, marriage registrations, and other documents that may identify early family relationships and movement. Step 6. Search Indian Territory and Oklahoma records. If Irene's parents came through Indian Territory, their marriage or community records may exist in Indian Territory marriage registries or Oklahoma territorial records. These may contain tribal references or community classification clues. Step 7. Search using name variants. Because historical records often contain misspellings, search for multiple name variations such as Irene Martin, Irena Martin, Irene Martin, Rena Martin, Irene Woods, and other surname variations. Also search using Joe Woods combined with Irene's first name. The goal of this research strategy is to determine whether Irene Martin or her parents were connected to Cherokee Nation citizenship records or freedmen enrollment records, Indian Territory records, or related federal and census documentation. As new records are located, the family history timeline will be expanded and preserved through video documentation for future generations. Both branches of my mom and dad's side represent possible Native ancestry lines that may have been affected by historical reclassification during slavery, Reconstruction, and Jim Crow. These stories will be researched further through census records, marriage records, death records, cemetery records, and possible tribal enrollment records. If our family had people who were displaced, reclassified, pushed onto freedmen rolls, or denied tribal rights, what recourse exists today? What programs exist? What claims can be made? Freedmen, tribal displacement, and modern recourse strategy. Based on our family records, we have evidence that ancestors in our family were landowners and acquired property independently. While land ownership alone does not automatically prove a person was legally classified as a freedman, it strongly supports that the family had post-emancipation economic independence and may have been part of the Reconstruction-era generation of freed people. This is important because freedmen history often overlaps with tribal displacement history, racial reclassification, and the loss of citizenship or land rights. Modern cases, such as Cherokee Nation citizenship litigation, including cases connected to the Treaty of 1966 and the Nash case, show that treaty rights can be enforced even when racial gatekeeping occurred. The principle established by these cases is that treaty promises of citizenship and rights can be legally binding, and that descendants may have recourse if they can prove direct ancestry tied to the protected class under the treaty. To position our family for possible recourse, benefits, or recognition, we must focus on building a complete documentation file. The first goal is to confirm whether our ancestors were connected to Cherokee Nation citizenship records or freedmen enrollment records. This includes searching the Dawes Rolls categories, including Cherokee freedmen, Cherokee by blood, intermarried whites, minors, and rejected applicants. Another major record source is the Guion-Miller Roll, which contains sworn applications and testimony from families seeking recognition as Cherokee descendants. If tribal enrollment or citizenship can be confirmed, then there may be access to tribal programs and benefits, including education programs, housing programs, healthcare-related services, business assistance programs, and other community-based resources, depending on the tribe's policies. Federal programs typically require tribal enrollment, meaning recognition is often the first necessary step before any benefits can be pursued. In addition to citizenship and program access, families may also seek recourse through land recovery research. This is not based on only tribal ancestry, but also on property law. If an ancestor owned land, deed records, probate records, and tax records can reveal whether land was lost through fraud, forced sale, foreclosure, tax seizure, or improper heirship handling. This type of documentation can be used to investigate potential recovery strategies through probate reopening, quiet title actions, deed chain correction, or other lawful remedies. The long-term strategy is to build a family rights dossier, including census records, deed and tax records, probate files, tribal roll evidence, and documentation showing possible racial reclassification. This dossier will allow the family to preserve its history and, if evidence supports it, pursue citizenship restoration, program access, or lawful recovery of family property rights. As more documentation is found, this family history record will continue to grow and will be preserved through a family video series. Now let's talk Bean and Burley family connection theory, Lagrange link. A major clue in our family history is that both my mother's people and my father's people trace back to LaGrange, Texas, in Fayette County. Because both sides of the family share the same geographic origin, there is a strong possibility that the Bean family line and the Burley family line are related through intermarriage, shared ancestors, or community ties. In small Texas counties like Fayette County, families often lived, attended church, and married within the same community networks for generations. Because of this, repeated surnames and connected bloodlines are common. This means the Bean and Burley relationship is a high likelihood possibility, but it must be confirmed through documentation. This geographic overlap between LaGrange and Fayette County is an important research target because it may show that the two family lines are not separate, but instead connect through the same historical community network. Dad's side family line, core surnames and research targets. On my father's side of the family, the main surnames connected to our bloodline include Bean, Burley, Chandler, Scruggs, and Carruthers, also spelled Carruths. These surnames form the core of my dad's side family network and are strongly connected to the LaGrange, Texas
region and surrounding counties. Because these surnames appear together in the same geographic area, it indicates that our father's side family history is not just one single line, but a connected community network formed through multiple marriages and family relationships. This is important because if one surname connects to freedmen records, land ownership records, or native ancestry documentation, the other surnames may also connect through the same family community. To research native ancestry and freedmen history on my father's side, these surnames must be searched together using census records, Freedmen Bureau records, land deed records, probate records, cemetery records, and migration history. The strongest evidence will likely come from early census records between 1870 and 1900 and from Fayette County and Colorado County land ownership documentation. Where do I sit in the American Negro story? Well, I am Reconstruction bloodline, directly. My tree isn't abstract. I have documented ancestors born in the immediate post-slavery period. Billy Terrell, 1877, Mississippi to Texas. Henrietta Woods, 1887, Allen Farm, Texas. Bell, estimated 1867, Mississippi. That places my family right inside the first 2 generations after emancipation. That's literally the American Negro Foundation era. I am the freedman to landowner continuation. My line includes people who migrated into Texas, settled in counties like Grimes, Brazos, Fayette, attended colored schools, participated in black church systems, acquired land or property, Bean line, Brown line indications. That is the core American Negro narrative, from bondage to land to institutions to being blocked. From Reconstruction to our bloodline, the W.B. Burley connection. This is not just a story about history, this is a story about our history. When people talk about slavery, Reconstruction, freedmen, and the Black Texas legislature, they often talk as if it happened to strangers, but the truth is, it happened to our family. This is the story of how our bloodline sits inside the American Negro timeline and why the name W.B. Burleigh is one of the most important names in our family's history. After the Civil War ended in 1865, America entered an era called Reconstruction. This was the first time in American history that formerly enslaved black people, known as freedmen, were legally free. Freedom meant black people could own land, sign contracts, legally marry, vote, build schools, build churches, run businesses, and even run for office. This was the era when Black Texas attempted to rise into political and economic power. This is where our family history becomes personal. On my father's side of the family, through my grandmother's lineage, we have the name W.B. Burleigh. W.B. Burleigh is not just a name on paper. He represents a connection to the same Reconstruction-era system where freedmen were documented in census records, land deeds, probate files, tax records, voter registration lists, and church records. Names written with initials such as W.B. were commonly used in official documents during the late 1800s and early 1900s, meaning W.B. Burleigh is likely traceable through public records. The Burleigh name is connected to a network of Texas surnames that appear repeatedly in Fayette County, Colorado County, and the LaGrange region. On our father's side, key surnames include Bean, Burleigh, Chandler, Scruggs, and Carruthers. These surnames represent a community network that often formed through shared land, shared churches, shared schools, and freedmen communities. This suggests the Burleigh family existed inside the environment where freed people were building long-term roots in Texas. One of the most important parts of the American Negro story is not only slavery, but what happened after slavery. After emancipation, black people began buying land. Land meant independence, security, inheritance, and the ability to build wealth for future generations. This is why so many black families fought for land. It is also why so many black families lost land through unfair taxes, probate manipulation, fraud, lack of legal access, and generational disruption. This creates the major question: who was W.B. Burleigh? Was he a landowner? Was he part of a freedman community? Was he connected to early Black Texas political activity? Was he connected to church networks? Was he connected to property records? Or was he one of the many Black Texans living through Reconstruction while facing a system that later worked to suppress Black advancement? These are not only history questions, but family questions. This family history series exists to answer those questions through real documentation. History is not only in textbooks. History is in deeds. History is in cemeteries. History is in census records. History is in the names our grandparents carried. If we don't document it, it disappears. Our mission is to trace the Burleigh name, locate W.B. Burleigh in public records, and rebuild the family timeline the right way, not based on rumors or guesses, but on the paper trail the government itself created. This is not just a story about the past, it is about the future. When you know your lineage, you know your position. When you know your position, you can build strategy. When you build strategy, you can build wealth. Our family is not disconnected from American history. We are American history. We are Texas history. And the name W.B. Burleigh may be one of the keys that unlock the next chapter. So where do I sit in the American Negro story? Based on my family history and documented lineage, I sit directly inside the American Negro experience as a descendant of Reconstruction-era families who migrated into Texas after slavery and built community foundations through land, labor, church, and survival systems. My maternal line includes ancestors such as Billy Terrell, born in 1877 in Mississippi, and Henrietta Wood Simpson, born in Allen Farm, Texas, which places my lineage within the first generations after emancipation. My paternal line includes family roots in Fayette County and Colorado County with surnames like Bean, Burleigh, Chandler, Scruggs, and Carruthers, including ancestors tied to LaGrange and Weymouth, Texas. My family history contains strong indicators of the major American Negro patterns: migration after slavery, the rise of black land ownership, church and community building, and later economic disruption through inheritance loss and property displacement. My family also reflects Native ancestry overlap and reclassification issues, including Cherokee hints on my mother's side and Blackfoot oral history on my father's side. This reflects a broader historical reality where Native and African families were often mixed and later reclassified by government systems into black categories, resulting in lost tribal standing and denied rights. My father's side also reflects the interruption of generational wealth. This represents a real example of how land and economic progress were often interrupted by trauma, family separation, and lack of legal systems. Therefore, my position in the American Negro story is not only as a descendant of the Reconstruction generation, but also as a modern builder seeking to document the truth, preserve family history, and rebuild a new economic foundation for future generations. This is episode 1. This is the foundation, and as we uncover more names, more records, more land, and more connections, we will document everything. Because this is not just a family tree, this is a record of survival, displacement, and rebuilding. This is our American Negro story.